Click. Not a bang, not recoil, not the comforting shove of a rifle doing what it was built to do. Just a hollow little click drowned in jungle noise. And then, the worst sound a man can hear. Silence, where his fire should be. The air is wet enough to drink. The heat sits on your shoulders like a rucksack full of bricks. Your shirt is glued to you. Your hands are slick. Your eyes sting from sweat and bug spray and fear. The tree line in front of you looks empty, and then it isn't. A snap of branches, a muzzle flash you barely catch, a shout in a language you don't understand but you know what it means. Contact. Your body moves before your brain signs the paperwork. You shoulder the rifle. You find the blur of movement. You squeeze. Click. Your stomach drops. You squeeze again, harder, like you can bully the machine into obedience. Click. Somewhere to your left, a kid from Ohio is firing like a sewing machine. Somewhere to your right, somebody's already screaming. And you're holding a dead piece of plastic and aluminum. Your mind tries to solve it like a math problem. Magazine, bolt, tap rack. But the jungle doesn't wait for solutions. You yank the charging handle. It doesn't move. You slam the forward assist, if you even have one. Most of you don't. Not yet. Your hands go to the rifle like it's a friend collapsing. You try to lift it, shake it, plead with it. And all the while, the enemy rifle answers with that ugly, steady confidence. A K-fire doesn't sound like ours. It's flatter, heavier, like a hammer hitting a steel plate. And it doesn't stop, because it doesn't have to. You drop behind a rotten log. The wood is soft, crawling with ants. Your cheek hits mud. The mud is warm. You can hear your own breathing. Too loud. You can hear the bolt refusing to cycle. And somewhere in that green wall, the men hunting you know you're broken. They can smell it. They can hear it. Click. That sound isn't a malfunction. It's betrayal made audible. They told you it was the future. They told you it was space age. Light, fast, clean. They handed you a rifle that looked like it came off a movie set. Black furniture, sleek lines, aluminum where your father's guns had walnut and steel. The old rifles had weight. They had cold metal and honest recoil. They felt like tools. This thing felt like a toy. And the troops said it before the paperwork did. Made by Mattel. Not because it was funny, but because it felt like a joke you were forced to bet your life on. Back home, generals still loved the idea of a real rifle. Big cartridge, big range, big authority. Wood stocks, steel receivers. The kind of weapon that looked right in a parade. That was the M14 era mentality. Heavy 7.62. A rifle you could club someone with if you ran dry. The new rifle, the black rifle, didn't fit their religion. But Vietnam wasn't a parade ground. Vietnam was close, wet, fast, and cruel. It was ambush distance. It was a man-shaped shadow behind a banana tree. It was a fight that lived inside 50 meters, inside 25, inside breathing range. And in that world, a lightweight rifle that fired controllable bursts made sense. That's the tragedy. The concept was right. The execution was a crime scene. Here's the truth the jungle taught first, and Congress learned later. The rifle wasn't bad by nature. It was changed, quietly, bureaucratically, like swapping a bridge's bolts for cheaper ones and still calling it safe. The original system was tuned around one type of propellant, stick powder, a clean-burning recipe that matched the gas system's timing and pressure. Then came the decision that doomed the first waves of men carrying it: ball powder. It sounded harmless, like a minor logistics adjustment, like the kind of change you make with a pen, not with blood. Ball powder delivered a different pressure curve, a different burn behavior, and it drove the gun harder, higher cyclic rate, more heat, more fouling. Carbon didn't just collect, it caked. The M16's direct gas system vents hot, dirty gas back into the bolt carrier. In a clean environment with proper maintenance, it's manageable. In Vietnam, that gas didn't just bring energy, it brought filth. Now add the jungle, humidity, mud, fine grit, powder residue turning into a paste. This wasn't a rifle sitting in an armory. This was a machine living in a swamp. And they told men it was self-cleaning. Let that sink in. Some desk-bound voice looked at a precision mechanism, small tolerances, aluminum receiver, steel chamber, gas venting into the action, and decided the troops didn't need cleaning kits, didn't need training emphasis, didn't need chrome where it mattered most, because the rifle would take care of itself. That wasn't optimism. That was negligence dressed up as confidence. Now, understand the chamber issue, because this is where malfunction turns into death sentence. Early rifles shipped without a chrome-plated chamber and bore. Cryptboard isn't sexy. It's not a feature you sell in a brochure. It's survival insurance. Chrome resists corrosion. It makes extraction smoother. It reduces the grip of a hot, expanded cartridge case against the chamber wall. In Vietnam's humidity, bare steel rusted fast. Microscopic pitting forms. Powder residue and moisture create a sticky chemistry set inside the chamber. The rifle fires, pressure spikes, the brass case expands and bites into the chamber like a tick. Then the action tries to extract it, and the extractor slips, tears through the rim, or the bolt locks up like it hit a wall. That's your click. That's your charging handle refusing to move. That's you beating on the rifle while somebody with an AK keeps shooting. This wasn't rare, it was systemic. And when it happened under fire, a soldier didn't clear a jam. He fought a mechanical seizure with shaking hands while the jungle closed in. So you did what soldiers always do. You adapted. You taped cleaning rods to barrels. You carried rods like talismans. You learned fast that the rifle needed care like a living thing, because if you didn't clean it constantly, it would die on you at the exact worst moment. Men started keeping their bolts wet with oil, because a dry bolt in that climate was a death wish. But oil attracts dirt. Dirt becomes paste. Paste becomes stoppage. Every solution had teeth. And the lie kept marching alongside you. Self-cleaning. No cleaning kit issued, not at first. No proper instruction, not at first. No chrome chamber, not at first. And the powder choice, already made, already shipped, already chewing up rifles and confidence. The rifle was sold as maintenance light, then deployed into the most maintenance-hostile environment on Earth. That's not a mismatch. That's sabotage by committee. There was another layer, the psychological layer, the one nobody wants to put on a chart. A rifle is trust. A rifle is the thing you squeeze when the world turns into noise and motion and panic. It is the last contract between you and survival. When the contract breaks, something breaks inside the man holding it. You stop thinking about tactics. You start thinking about whether your own side cares if you live. You start thinking about the people who signed off on your equipment from air-conditioned rooms. You start thinking, not like a soldier, but like prey. That's what the M16 did in those early months. Not because it was light, not because it was futuristic, but because it was unreliable. Unreliable means every firefight comes with a second enemy, your own weapon. The old hands with the M14 hated it at first. Then some of them hated it forever. They'd look at the black rifle and see fragility. They'd call it a toy. They'd spit the Mattel line. But here's the twist. When the M16 ran properly, it was controllable, fast, accurate. In tight jungle fights, that mattered. And that made the betrayal worse. Because the rifle wasn't failing because it was doomed by design. It was failing because the system around it treated infantrymen like expendable test subjects. Because somebody decided cost and convenience were acceptable substitutes for metallurgy and chemistry. Because procurement turned engineering into politics. And politics doesn't clear jams. Let's get technical, because this is where the horror becomes measurable. Ball powder increased fouling and altered port pressure. That sped up the action. Speed means the bolt unlocks earlier while chamber pressure is still high. Early unlock plus dirty chamber equals stuck brass. Stuck brass equals extractor stress. Extractor stress equals torn rims, broken extractors, and bolts that stop returning to battery. And once carbon fouling builds in the bolt carrier group, friction climbs. Springs struggle. The gun short strokes, fails to feed, fails to extract, fails to lock. Each failure is a different nightmare. And in a firefight, you don't get to diagnose. You just get to die slower. Now add magazines. Early feed lips, inconsistent quality, dense from field use. A bad mag turns a good rifle into a single-shot club. Ammunition packaging, moisture exposure, powder residue. Even small issues compound when the core system is already fighting itself. The weapon needed a margin of reliability, and the bureaucracy shaved the margin down to nothing. So picture this reality. No gore, just truth. A patrol goes out. They're tired, they're soaking wet, they've been humping for hours, they're carrying too much, sleeping too little. They make contact in thick brush. Everyone drops, everyone fires, and one man, one rifle clicks. He tries immediate action. No joy. He tries to rip the magazine. It's stuck. He tries to pull the charging handle. It won't budge. His world shrinks to the weapon. He's not watching the tree line anymore. He's not watching his buddies. He's staring at the ejection port like it's a locked door in a burning house. And the enemy doesn't have to be a super soldier. He just has to keep shooting. That's the betrayal part. Not that men died in war. Men always die in war. The betrayal is that men died while performing maintenance in the middle of combat, because their rifle demanded a cleaning ritual it was never supposed to require. The betrayal is that those deaths were preventable, and the warnings were ignored. This wasn't rumor. This wasn't grunts complaining. Reports stacked up. Letters made it back. Rifles were sent for analysis. And still, the machine kept rolling. Because admitting failure is expensive. Because changing the powder contract is expensive. Because chrome costs money. Because issuing cleaning kits admits you lied. Because the people paying the cost weren't the people signing the forms. So part one ends here, in the thick green. Not with a fix, not with justice, with a weapon that looks like tomorrow and behaves like a trap. with a click that echoes louder than gunfire, because it tells you something gunfire never will. Gunfire means the enemy is trying to kill you. The click means your own side might have helped. The old-timers called it the mad minute, that first 60 seconds when the jungle explodes and everybody tries to drown fear in firepower. You don't aim like a marksman. You aim like a man trying to survive the next breath. Muzzle flashes stitch the green. Tracers cut through humidity like angry comets. You can smell burnt powder, wet earth, and adrenaline all at once. And then the rhythm breaks, not from the enemy, from your own line. A burst here, a burst there, then gaps. Little dead zones where rifles should be barking. Men stop firing to fight their weapons. That's the moment the jungle notices. Because the enemy is listening for weakness. They're not counting your medals. They're counting your pauses. The most terrifying thing about a stoppage isn't that one rifle goes down. It's that it infects the squad. One guy is clearing a jam, then another, and suddenly your superior firepower turns into a handful of men with working guns trying to cover a handful of men with dead ones. You can't maneuver, you can't suppress, you can't breathe. You just pray the other side doesn't push, because if they push, they'll be inside the wire before you get that bolt unstuck. You start seeing the field adaptations, not in manuals, in desperation. Cleaning rods taped to stocks, rods lashed along helmets, a rod carried like a knife, because that rod is the difference between clearing an extraction and dying with a useless rifle in your hands. Some guys keep their rifles wet with oil, even in a place where oil becomes glue. Some guys baby the bolt like it's a sick animal, because it is. And the horror isn't that soldiers improvised. Soldiers always improvise. The horror is why they had to. There's a particular image that kept showing up in after-action talk. A man found down, his rifle open, upper and lower split like a hinge, bolt carrier out, magazine out, hands still near the gun, like he died mid-repair. No gore in that picture, just a final posture that says everything. He didn't lose a firefight. He lost an argument with a machine under enemy fire, and the machine should have never made him argue. That's what failure looks like in combat. Not dramatic explosions, not heroic speeches, just a man on his knees in wet dirt, trying to clear a stuck case while rounds crack overhead. Trying to win back the one thing he was promised: function. Now, here's the other half of the nightmare. When the black rifle did work, it was a monster. The enemy learned to fear it for a reason. Not because it was pretty, not because it was new, because when it ran right, it hit like something out of a lab. Let's talk ballistics without the fairy tales. The 5.56mm round is small, fast, and it behaves differently than the heavier bullets the world was used to. At high velocity, that bullet doesn't always travel straight through tissue like a clean drill bit. It yaws, it turns. Sometimes it tumbles. And under the right conditions, especially at closer ranges where velocity is still high, it can break apart. Fragments don't just make one hole, they make a channel, branching paths, multiple wound tracks from one trigger pull. That's not magic. That's physics meeting biology at bad angles. The temporary cavity, the violent stretch of tissue around the bullet path, can be massive when speed is high. People like to use the phrase hydrostatic shock. The cleaner way to say it is this: a fast projectile can create damage beyond the exact track it cuts because the body isn't rigid. It's water and soft structure. It moves, it tears. When that bullet yaws early and fragments, the effect is brutal. Not cinematic, just mechanically devastating. and word spreads fast in a jungle war. The VC didn't need a textbook. They needed one look at what that round could do when it behaved as designed. So the fear was real, but it came with a bitter punchline. The enemy feared the rifle you wished you had, not always the one you were issued. That's the psychological whiplash of Vietnam. One day, the rifle runs. It's light in your hands. You can keep it on target in full auto, better than the old battle rifles. You can put rounds where you want them. You feel like the future. The next day, the chamber rusts, the carbon cakes, the case sticks, and the future turns into a click. That inconsistency is what breaks men. Because you can plan around a weak weapon, you can't plan around a weapon that's sometimes a scalpel and sometimes a brick. And then the investigations began to bite. Not politely, not quietly. Men in uniforms and men in suits started hearing the same stories too many times to ignore. The lies couldn't survive contact with the casualty lists. The self-cleaning line got dragged behind the truth like a body bag. Cleaning kits started appearing, training changed, and the hardware, finally, got fixed. Chrome lining, not glamour, not hype. Just a thin layer of sanity inside the chamber and bore. It resisted corrosion. It eased extraction. It gave the rifle a fighting chance in a place designed to eat steel. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, ammunition spectrability. Inside the great kid in the Menishmitten, the day's talent rikely to make sure. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, changes and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. The rifle isn't just a more developing in the rifle. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. It's timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. Its timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing, and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. Its timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing, and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. Its timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing, and changes death. Then came changes to the system itself. A rifle isn't just a barrel and a trigger. Its timing, gas port dimensions, buffer weights, spring rates, a timing, and changes death. You can't plan around a weak weapon. You can't. Ammunition spec, magazine reliability, all of it matters, because reliable isn't a slogan. It's an engineering outcome. And then you see the most controversial little bump on the side of the receiver, the forward assist, a button built from a hard lesson. The forward assist is not a cure for a filthy rifle. It's a tool, a last shove to seat the bolt when things are gritty and imperfect. It's also an admission that the original promise, clean, self-sustaining, effortless, was fantasy. Because if a rifle needs a last shove device, it means reality won the argument. This is where the M16A1 enters like a corrective surgery. The fixes didn't make the weapon invincible. They made it honest. Chrome lining, better maintenance doctrine, better issuing of cleaning gear, design tweaks that acknowledge the environment instead of denying it. And once the rifle was treated like what it actually was, an engineered system requiring care, it became what it was supposed to be in the first place, a lightweight, controllable, accurate fighting rifle that fit the war it was thrown into. But you don't get to rewind the tape. You don't get to unclick the rifles that failed in the worst second of a man's life. You don't get to apologize to the patrol that learned the truth the hard way, because the cost was already paid. In silence, between shots, while hands tore at jammed bolts and the jungle closed in. Here's the legacy, and it isn't just technical. It's political. It's institutional. The rifle didn't betray those men by itself. A system betrayed them. A chain of decisions, propellant choices, cost cuts, procurement pride, and marketing lies stacked up until a soldier's trigger pull produced nothing. And in combat, nothing is not neutral. Nothing is death. Remember that the next time somebody calls it a minor change. Remember that the next time somebody shrugs at testing. Remember that the next time somebody says the troops will figure it out. They always do. But they shouldn't have to. Not with their lives. This is Spectre 1-1. End transmission.